Yes guys, I'm back with another one, and I'm going to be looking at BTC. You know the usual drill: BTC dominance, USDT dominance. I'm going to go through the big five today as well, have a little look at ETH BTC, and just generally let's have a little look at what's been going on in the crypto market, guys. So yeah, let's get straight into it. Right, I'm on BTC, I'm on the hourly chart, I'm just having a little look. I'll switch to the daily chart. Not really too much of a bad pattern I've pointed out there. I've come up into this zone, which I knew it was going to be a slight resistance zone. You know, generally if we do start to break above this zone here, you know, I can see us coming back towards this zone. There is going to be underlining shorts all around this zone. There was underlining longs around this zone here, and there may have been some shorts as well. Well, that's why we've come back up and swept a lot of these out. So you know, when this move starts to occur, people will start getting short down here, which is you know, a bit silly. You know, from my point of view, I think that's a bit silly. Personally, these moving averages, at some point, can almost guarantee it, at some point, this moving average is catching up slowly to price. So this is why I've had these areas pointed out, because it's not unlikely that we will do something like this sort of pattern. I'm not a pattern trader, but what I'm saying is this sort of pattern here generally will occur over and over again. You know, you can just see it, and these sort of boxes here. So we've got a box round it. Phone's going off already. I'm gonna have to mute that phone a minute, otherwise I'm not gonna get through this video. And I'm gonna start making my videos a little bit shorter, you know, around about 15 to 20 minutes, just to try and get as much information out as I possibly can. So these patterns generally occur most of the time, and what you'll see on the daily, it starts to drop down, and this is why I don't really like to use the moving averages as confirmations, should I say. What a sausage. Confirmations of the downtrend, because we've seen it many times before. You know, we've seen it here, you know, as the death cross. I call it the bullshit cross, because it's a load of bullshit. Don't believe the death cross. It's a load of bollocks. It genuinely is. It's an absolute load of bollocks, because we've seen it many times before. Across, and it dropped. Oh look, it reclaimed, it crossed back up. You know, I wouldn't use personally moving averages as a confirmation of either an up or a down move. I like to mark out zones of interest, you know, and you could be taking this short, you know, when it came into this zone. I don't know, say you took the short when it came into this zone, you stopped one above that zone, the same zone, and you were targeting, I don't know, let's say this zone here. But for me, there's no real confirmation to take the short at the minute. It seems like we're still having a lot of people that want to buy BTC at the higher levels. Nobody. Well, let's go back to here. Let's go back to where BTC were down here at 15k. Nobody wanted BTC. Nobody wanted BTC. Nobody wanted BTC at 24k. Nobody wanted BTC at 37k. Nobody wanted BTC at 48k. Nobody wanted BTC at 74k. And now we're up here. Once again, everybody wants BTC. Everybody wants a bit of BTC. And, you know, this is just how many people get wrecked in these markets. Everybody wants a taste of the pie when the pie's hot. Nobody wants a taste of the pie when the pie down
Connection
here.
lost.
You can go away as well. Mine with your connection lost. That's my VPN connecting. The big sausage. Nobody wants a taste of the pie when it's down here, when it's cold. Nobody wants it. Everybody's like, oh, it's gonna crash, it's gonna crash, it's gonna go to zero. Nobody wanted the pie. Now we're here. You know, now we're up in these zones here. Now we're up here. Everybody wants the pie. Makes no sense to me whatsoever. In trading, like I've previously said to you before, I'm the guy that does the opposite to what the pie eaters do, basically. So they don't want that pie. I want a bit of that pie. Generally, it does the opposite. You know, it's just one of them things that you need to realise that that's what happens in these markets. So at the minute, we had all this underlining, you know, longs that started to build up in here. They've been stopped out, or they've covered the long. Same here, we had that. Look at the patterns. Look at the patterns that happen. And like I said, I'm not a pattern trader, but I'm just trying to show you. You know, you had the high. It came down. It swept all these longs out in here. Come down, swept. Came back up. Everybody got bullish again. Came back up. Equal highs there. Around that zone. We dropped again. We swept all the longs again that got in here and never took any profit. It's come all the way back down. Swept them out. And then bang. A big move. So we've had that scenario again. All the longs that started to build up in here came up, swept the longs, came up, swept the longs again. Now, are we going to sweep the shorts? Now that's really something that we need to keep an eye on. Because BTC is also back inside last week's point of control, we fell outside the point of control. We hit the important level that I had marked out at around 111k. We hit the important level, and now we're back up into this very important level. We're also trading above the value area high at the minute. Once again, we are trading above the value area high. So it would not surprise me if we try and sweep out all these up in here that have started to build shorts and have not taken any profit. I know a lot of people down here have probably started to build shorts down here, which is a rather silly move. From my perspective, it's a very silly move to do something like that. But I don't control the market and I can't control people's emotions. So you need to be really careful. But everybody wants the pie. Everybody wants the pie here. Just give me 1 second. So yeah, everybody wants the pie. And most are probably going to end up eating the crust, unfortunately. So we had some very important levels marked out here. I'm going to take that off. So we've got some very important levels marked out here. This level here at 117,700. I'm watching that level. I'm watching the 118,400 level, which is an untested point of control. I'm also watching the 119,100 level, which is the value area high, which from last week, that's the value area high. If we have a look here, this here is still untested. This here is still untested. This here is still untested. I'll tell you the numbers because I think a lot of people like to listen as well. So we've got an untested daily point of control, which is at 11100. We've also got another daily, which is at 109,480, and then we've got a weekly untested at 108,800. There is also another daily at 105,760. There's another weekly at 94,500. And why I'm pointing these out is, people are probably going to think, oh, why are you pointing them out? I'm pointing them out because at these levels, there is going to be a reaction. Because there is going to be limits sat in these levels, and we will receive a reaction. Unless the limits get pulled, then the reaction will occur. Like I said, I've had to go to Bybit charts at the minute. I don't know what's going on with my Binance charts. But even further down now, at 84480, we've got another untested, and that's a weekly. And at 78,980, we have another untested weekly. I don't think we've got much further. I haven't gone further down. I'm trying to keep it within the price scale of where we are at the minute, to be honest with you. So I'm not touching this at the minute because we're not testing these zones. Excuse me. But if you have a little look at the reaction of this, which was an untested, I think it was from last week, this untested point of control here, we came back inside the value area of last week, we came up, we fired through that area, so there will have been shorts in here that have been liquidated. It came back down into this area. They've either been liquidated or they're still in the position, and what happens is, if you have a look at the wick on this candle, when it's come up above that zone, they're now in a drawdown. So they're going to be thinking, shit, I'm in a drawdown, what can I do? Soon as it's come back into this zone here at 115,860, the people that have held them shorts have now closed them shorts, which has caused the opposite reaction. So they had the shorts sat in there, it's caused a market buy, and then BTC has reacted. That's what happens here. So if people are longing up in here, which is a bad idea from my point of view, but you know, whatever, let them do what they've got to do, then it's going to have the opposite reaction, because it's going to come up where they've longed here, it's had a slight reaction, and then it's come back and they've thought, right, this is not going to move, so they've closed, which has caused market sell orders to be triggered, bang bang bang, and then you move. It's not major movements in BTC, you know, it's like 1%. But if you look at this here, I think this is probably like about 1 or 2% as well. Yeah, it's nearly 2% move up that way. So you just need to be really, really careful with what you're doing in these sort of situations. You know, it's the same down here. People are shorting down here, which is rather silly. Personally, me, I did not have a long in play. The reason I didn't have a long in play is because it never hit the points of control I want it to hit. So, you know, I wanted to see it come down into this point of control, start to go sideways, and then have the reaction, and then I'd have took some off here, I'd have took some off here, and I'll be waiting to take TP3 here. There's nothing for me to trade there. I don't want to be involved in that chop. The only difference is we tagged this zone, which was 111,866. That for me was not a real major reaction where I wanted to take a long, and also it was at 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm not trading at 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm not going to wake up because I've got a notification that it's hit this zone here, because you can put notifications on it. I can't remember how you do it now, but you can put notifications on this zone when it comes into it, you know. And if you're willing to wake up at 1 o'clock in the morning, crack on with that. But I'm not. So like here, Tuesday the 22nd of July, you know, you'd have had this notification coming in, it's rejecting. A lot of people want to try short here. oh, it's a breaker structure. It's a bad idea. It's a bad idea. Wait for it to come back to that zone. Wait for it. You know, once it's come back to that zone and you get a confirmation, yeah, short it, you know, in that zone. And you're getting a nice, 7% move times 10, whatever, times 30, 40, 50. You know, you're making a decent amount of money. As of now, we're going to end up chopping in here for a little bit. You know, I really want BTC to tag this zone. I'd love to see it tag this zone, get rejection, come back up, tag again, and then I'll take my short, and that'll be my TP1, TP2, and potentially TP3 around 111k. Till then, not really doing much. One thing that is a bit, you know, I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, what's going on here? What's going on in here? I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, you know, open interest is increasing, but the volume delta is decreasing, and for the past however long it's been, the delta has been negative. The open interest is not really, yeah, if you have a look here, 69k, that's 64k. You know, that's a pretty worrying sight. I'd love to see something like, let me see if I can find something like this. Excuse me. So here, you know, you've got your open interest, your cumulative volume delta declining, and it is conversing with it. But if you have a little look, we had a low, a higher low, and a lower low on here. The same occurred here. So we've got, at this low here, we've got a high. On that there, we're creating a lower low, but then it continues to go lower. So that's telling me there on the open interest, people are losing interest in shorting here. And then you have that massive move that occurs. That's all I'm looking for, you know. I'm looking for a few diversions on these charts. And at the minute, you know, I'm seeing cumulative volume delta decreasing, but I'm seeing open interest increasing. You know, that's telling me something that, you know, possibly people are starting to build their shorts in this zone here before it does come down and retest some of these zones. Not a lot of people will be looking at that. They'll be looking at the RSI and things like that. You can get something similar with the RSI. You know, it's just having something to give you a confluence in the trade. So let's have a look at ETH. ETH pointed out, pretty simple. I pointed it out in the chat, you know, in the Discord, the new Discord. If you're not in there, come and join us. The links are in the description. I pointed out in ETH, and I'm going to show you the levels. You know, I'm not no bullshitter. I've had these levels on here for a very long time, and you know, it's pretty similar to what's going on here. You know, you've got your lows. CVD continues to decrease as open interest is increasing at these levels. So, you know, people might be starting to build the short positions. I had this area marked out. Let me get it up because it's covered underneath there. 3899. Is it 3899? No, that's what it indicates. 3908. I had that level marked out. I told everybody in chat I'm going to be long in ETH at around here, and the move from there, my entry, to there, well, just to there, is a nice 10% move. That, you know, From here, your TP1's there, your TP2's there, your TP3's there. It's a pretty easy trade. So ETH at the minute, open interest is increasing. The only thing that I'm looking at in ETH is we've got a high here in the open interest. We've got a lower high, but a higher high on price. Also, CVD is becoming rather flat. It wouldn't surprise me if we start to come down and test some of these zones. So we've got 3165 in ETH, we've got 3044, and then we've got 2660. I think that correlates with the actual areas that I've got marked out. You know, I've got an area marked out here, perfect area where you could start to build along. A lot of people here will be looking at breaker structure. It's breaking out now, blah blah blah. Give a fuck if it's breaking out, excuse my French. But I am looking at these, you know, lower areas for ETH to come and tag before we move off. At the minute, ETH's dominating the market, you can see that. But what I also want to point out, if you look at some of the altcoins are absolutely getting rinsed, still getting rinsed, because ETH and BTC are outperforming all them altcoins. The only altcoins that are really running is just proper shit coins, man. Proper shit coins, memes and all that crap. So, you know, you want to trade memes and all that shit, crack on with it, and I'm really not interested. What's pointed out in the chat as well about Sui. Let's have a look at Sui. Pointed out in the chat, I think it was pointed out yesterday in Sui. I pointed it out early. I told everybody. I can get the chat up and I'll show you what I pointed out, which is not hard. We had a point of control here that had not been tested yet. We came down, we tested, we went sideways a little bit, we came back up, we held last week's value area low, and then, lo and behold, my magic ball, you've got a 13% move there, which is an absolutely lovely move. I'm still seeing levels to the downside. 3220 and 29290 in Sui. It wouldn't surprise me. Last week's point of control was not tested. It is now being tested. We've got last week's value area high at around 40670. You know, if I can see some sort of move here, we are above this week's value area high. Closing above this week's value area high, like I said last week, closing below last week's value area low is gonna potentially then push us up. So closing above the value area high of this week may push us back down to these lower levels, and everybody's gonna be like, crypto's dead, blah blah blah, blah 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 blah. That's all I've got to say about the situation, because they're all full of shit. They don't give you these levels. They're all full of crap, and they're just out to make money for themselves. It's as simple as it can get. So if we look at Sui 3220 and 29290, let's have a little look here. Yeah, it's going to react at these zones. You know, this could be your shorting zone up in here and your longing zone here and here. So we will keep an eye on Sui. Sol, I'm going to go through Sol right quickly. Pretty obvious again with Sol. Sol, we'll get Sol up. You know, that's last week's point of control, untested. It's going to test it. That was an untested daily point of control. It tested it. That was an untested point of control. It tested it. So, you know, I'm not giving you fluff here. I'm giving you actual levels, you know, that these coins are potentially going to test. I also have another level in Sol down in here at 143.92. the reason this is going to be tested is we're going to have buyers and sellers at this point of control that want to be getting involved in the market. Okay, people don't want to get involved in the market down here. I don't know why. They want to take shorts down here, but yeah, that's another 14% move there. And there's also another daily untested point of control at 191. We've also got last week's value area high at 18548. Last week's point of control 180.04, which we are going to test. That was an untested daily point of control at 177. We had another one at 169, which we tested. 162 was last week's value area low, which we came back inside, and then we've took off. Simple as that. I still think at some point we are going to come down and test this point of control here. I don't know if I've got any more point of controls, not that I know of, but we are going to test it at some point. Right. Which obviously coincides with the levels that I've got marked out. 140 area around this zone. XRP in an important zone at the minute, which is a daily important zone. Let's have a look at my charts. XRP. Same with XRP. We had untested points controls. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to see, because I ain't got it marked out. Let me see if we've got any we have right there. But that has been tested. You can see that it got tested here. Let me zoom in a little bit here. It got tested from the underside. So it is still a level that I will mark out, because it's only been tapped once. I will have it marked out, whereas this one got tapped from the underside and above. So I won't mark that one out, but I will have that one marked out. So, said in XRP, you know, we're coming below last week's value area low, which was here. I think these all happened on Sunday or something like that. I'm not trading Sunday. I don't really give a shit. But what you got to look at here is, on all of them, CVD is decreasing. So the volume is the delta volume of shorts and longs is decreasing. The open interest is increasing, which is rather risky. But as I've said, these levels that got pointed out, we had an untested daily point of control here. It came down, it tested it from the top side, came back up, tested it, chopped, fired up, came back inside the value area. A lot of people want to go long here, whereas I'm not looking at going long there. I'm looking at that as I'm waiting for the pullback, and then you can go long in here at this zone here, and you know you got a 15% move. This is not difficult. Let's have a look at this week's value area, and then I'm gonna get off. I'm gonna have a quick scan of USDT dominance and BTC dominance. We are above this week's value area high, and we are a fair old distance away from it. You know, we're nearly 10% away from that. There's a lot of volume coming in here. Let me check today's point of control. Today's point of control is rather small. It's a little zone, but I might be tempted. The only thing that's worrying me is that, and it has been tested, but you know, it's not saying it's not going to get tested again, because it potentially could. So I'm going to be cautious with this one, very cautious, especially with the open interest increasing, but the CVD is decreasing. So we've got a divergence in CVD and open interest. And if you look at open interest, it's still increasing, but price isn't. CVD is decreasing, you know, if you look here, look at the high, that there is a divergence. We had a high, a lower high, but on here we had a high and a higher high. And you know, if you're down for scalping, you know, it's 2.5% move. Right, let me have a little look at USDT dominance, BTC dominance. Let's see where we're at. Daily. I had some zones pointed out. We are falling back below this zone right now. There's a potential that it's possibly going to come down in this zone here. You know, I wanted to see it hold above that zone there, and it never did. It never did. So USDT dominance, it could go back up. I'm not saying it isn't. People start taking profits, it's going to come back up. But the more likely scenario is we're going to come down here to test this zone here. BTC dominance, the same with BTC dominance. You know, I've got some zones marked out. We came back above this zone, tested it from the underside, and then dropped back down. You know, so at the minute, I'm probably just going to be watching the market because I don't really like the look of it at the minute. ETH BTC, I had this, see how it got rejected, and then fired through. I've got more levels, got one here, and I've got one here. There's a potential that it could go to there, but there is a lot of untested areas, and you know, which will shock people, and they'll be like, wow, how did it do that? Well, you know, if it does something like that, people are going to be like, I'm out of the market, I'm not doing it anymore, and then it'll probably rocket to these areas here. So I've got my eye on these coins, these areas. I'm going to get off now because it has gone on a little bit longer than what I really wanted it to. But don't forget, I've got links in the description for the new Discord. I've got links for the Buy Me a Coffee. I've got links for James's Baccarat indicators, which is part of what we're doing at the minute. And other links, my Twitter account, X, whatever you want to call it. Come check it out. And yeah, I'm going to get out of here now, guys. And have a great day and happy trading. I'll catch you in the next one.